The first time the HOA president stepped over his fence, she smiled like it was normal. What she didn't know was that this small step would expose everything she had been hiding. Daniel bought the house for peace. A quiet corner lot, a clean wooden fence, and mornings filled with sunlight instead of arguments. The neighborhood looked perfect on paper, but paper lied. The HOA president, Linda, believed rules mattered more than respect. She walked the streets like she owned them. When Daniel saw her inside his yard one afternoon, clipboard in hand, measuring tape stretched across his grass, he felt something shift inside him. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply asked why she was there. Linda answered calmly, saying the fence might be misaligned and that HOA inspection rules allowed her access. Daniel checked the documents that night. Nothing allowed this. Still, he stayed quiet. Days later, she returned. Then again. Each time stepping over the fence like it was air. Neighbors watched from windows, unsure who to believe. Daniel started documenting everything. Photos. Times. Angles. Silence became his strategy. Linda mistook silence for weakness. She sent warning letters. Fines were hinted at. The fence became the line between control and freedom, and someone was about to cross it for the last time. Daniel didn't fight back because he was afraid, he stayed silent because he was preparing something that couldn't be undone. Linda's visits grew bolder. She stepped over the fence without knocking, without notice, without shame. She measured, photographed, and spoke loudly so neighbors could hear her authority echo. Daniel waved politely every time. That confused her. The HOA board trusted Linda fully. No one questioned her methods. Daniel requested official HOA documents, historical plats, and county property records. Each request was slow, but patience was his shield. The fence wasn't just wood. It was a legal boundary. Linda believed HOA power erased that boundary. Daniel learned otherwise. He discovered that his lot had a grandfathered clause, protecting private access rights older than the HOA itself. Every trespass strengthened his case. Every letter she sent became evidence. Linda escalated, threatening daily fines if Daniel didn't cooperate. Neighbors began whispering. Some warned him to comply. Others quietly supported him. Daniel installed temporary cameras, legally placed, facing only his property. Linda noticed. Her smile faded. She accused him of intimidation. He said nothing. The more she pushed, the more complete his case became. The fence stood still, but the pressure around it was rising fast. Linda believed authority was protection. She never imagined it could become the trap. The HOA board approved Linda's routine inspections without reading the details. She walked into Daniel's yard again, this time stepping over the fence while speaking on her phone, laughing. The cameras captured everything. Date. Time. Movement. Daniel sent a calm email asking for written authorization. None arrived. Instead, a violation notice appeared on his door, accusing him of harassment. That was the moment neighbors began choosing sides. Linda held meetings without Daniel present. She spoke confidently, shaping the story before anyone questioned it. But facts don't bend. Daniel installed a fully legal security system, visible signage, motion alerts, and boundary alarms approved by county code. No noise. No confrontation. Just undeniable records. Linda panicked. She claimed intimidation again. The board hesitated. For the first time, Linda looked uncertain. She stopped smiling. Every step she took near that fence now triggered logs, timestamps, and evidence. Daniel still didn't speak publicly. He didn't need to. The fence had become more than wood. It was proof. And the next step Linda took would change everything. The alert went off at noon, and this time, Daniel didn't watch from his window. Linda stepped over the fence again, ignoring the sign, ignoring the boundary alarm. Within minutes, Daniel's attorney received the footage. County code enforcement was notified. Linda froze when officials arrived. She tried to explain. Tried to smile. tried to regain control. But authority without permission collapses fast. Neighbors gathered. Phones came out. The fence line was measured professionally. Documents were reviewed publicly. Linda's claims unraveled in real time. The HOA board realized they had approved actions without legal standing. Daniel finally spoke, calmly explaining the grandfathered property rights and the months of documentation. Linda looked small for the first time. She wasn't arrested. She wasn't yelled at. She was simply exposed. The board suspended her authority pending review. Fines against Daniel were withdrawn immediately. The silence he carried for months now spoke louder than any argument. But this wasn't the end. It was the setup for the final consequence. Daniel never wanted revenge, he wanted peace, and peace finally arrived with truth. The HOA board issued a formal apology. Linda resigned before the vote. Her reputation collapsed quietly, the way misuse of power always does. Daniel removed nothing. He added nothing. The security stayed. The fence stayed. What changed was respect. Neighbors stopped whispering and started listening. The board rewrote inspection policies. Written permissions became mandatory. Trespassing clauses were enforced. Daniel's case became a reference example for future disputes. Linda avoided the street entirely. No confrontation. No victory speech. Just corrected balance. Daniel stood in his yard one evening, sunlight hitting the fence the same way it always had. The difference was invisible but permanent. Power had limits again. This wasn't about a fence, it was about knowing when silence is strength. Daniel's story spread through the neighborhood slowly. People realized rules protect everyone, not just those in charge. Boundaries exist for a reason. Authority must respect law, not override it. Daniel never raised his voice. Never insulted. Never crossed a line. He let the system expose itself. That was the real lesson. Security doesn't always mean force. Sometimes it means preparation. Linda's trespasses stopped completely. The fence became ordinary again, and that was the victory. Peace returned not because someone fought harder, but because someone stayed smarter. The HOA president didn't stop trespassing because she was told to. She stopped because the law finally spoke louder than her title. Daniel never changed the fence. He changed the outcome. Legal security, calm patience, and documented truth ended what shouting never could. The neighborhood learned that day that power has boundaries, and silence can be strategic, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.